Alright, so I've just come back from a 5-day bikepacking trip, and today I'm going to go over everything I carried during that trip. As a whole, I like to preface that I like to pack pretty light, and so whilst it's not an ultralight setup, in my opinion, the best ultralight setup is the one with the stuff that you already have or the stuff that you leave at home. Okay, so I might move front to back as well as everything I wore on me. So starting with the front, I've got this like pretty old Ortlieb waterproof pack that had a few things inside of it. So in this one, because this is a waterproof pack, I like to keep things that A, are quick to access, B, require waterproofing, and C, is something that is mobile. So this is one of the easiest bags for me to carry into the tent at the end of the day. So first up, I've got a little headlamp, a Nightcore Ultralight 25. Does the job, really handy, has a red light setting, bright enough to kind of ride with. Battery life is okay, though might require a charge after a couple of days of use. I keep all my electronics in a Ziploc bag, a couple of USB-C cables, GoPro spares. I also have an iPhone cable that's not in here, and a little Garmin charger adapter as well. Bit funny, but I've got a spare pair of undies, and the only reason why it's in that bag is because the last 2 days was super rainy. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you have your phone and it's wet and you can't touch anything because the screen is wet and your hand is wet, I use just this spare pair of undies that were dry to wipe off the screen. So that's why that's in there. Normally it's not. Some snacks, some rubbish. So I had some nice chocolate flavored stuff. Got my Signet battery bank. I think it's a 10,000 milliamp hour thing. Pair of sunnies, pen, more electronic stuff, charger, and my headphones. So that in a nutshell is my front pack. I also had some tissues. This was to supplement the undies to dry stuff. So that was what was in this bag. Oh, I've also got my bank card, but I won't show the number. Always handy to have a physical card with you, just in case your phone's not working or whatnot. Or if your phone's charging when you're back in civilization for lunch or something, the card is handy to go shopping whilst your phone's charging. So that's why I do that. All right, moving on. On the bike itself, I've got this front rack, kind of harness system, really handy. So I've got a pair of lightweight kind of rubber Birkenstocks. These are great for wearing around after a long day at the campsite. It's probably my one luxury item, but honestly, I was contemplating whether I should bring it or not. The last 2 days had non-stop rain. My feet were absolutely soaked, and it was just kind of nice to get out of my wet socks and put these on and not have to worry about walking around in my soggy shoes. So that was quite nice. In terms of my tent setup, this is one of those instances where the most lightweight setup is the one that you already have. And I have a 2-person top tent setup. It's pretty light, it does the job. I could spend another $300, $400, $500, $600 on a one-man tent, but I bought this to go traveling with my wife, and it's a really good 2-person setup. And for a 1-person, hey, it might be a little bit luxurious having a 2-man tent, but it's the one I have, and it was actually really nice having that extra space in the tent. I didn't have to worry about things getting wet outside under the awning. Yeah, but if I was to make a big investment in reducing the weight of my setup, this would be where it's at. But I don't really travel enough to justify just buying a tent for 1 person. So that's my tent setup. Moving on to the bike, I made these 2 water bottle carriers. These are so handy. So this is my primary hydration station. I always have this bottle in here, a bit of spare duct tape in there, it's 750 mils. That keeps me hydrated all day. On the other pocket, I kind of just have miscellaneous things. Typically, it'll be another beverage that I buy along the way. So I've got an empty Coke can there, any rubbish, super handy. I have my quad lock here to store my phone whilst I'm riding when it's dry, and a light that comes on at typically just only at night. I take that off during the day, and that's the cockpit. In front of the cockpit, I've got my I don't know, gas tank, whatever you're gonna call it. This was a DIY that I made a while back. I really like it. Primarily, I've got some gloves in there, but primarily I use it as my main snack kind of fueling station. So I always have it partially open with a bag of lollies that I can just like snack on throughout the day. It's so easily accessible. It means like I can't let nutrition slip because it's always in front of me. When you're having big days, I think nutrition is so important, and having that accessible is key for me. Beyond that, I've got like 2 multi-tools that are like super accessible whenever I need them. So my multi-tool that's got pretty much everything you need to pull apart my bike, and then a Leatherman for everything else beyond that. They're all a bit manky because it's been raining. That's attached by frame bolts, and I had my friend print up, 3D print a frame for my gas tank, which is really nice. It gives this some stability and shape. Otherwise this just kind of like sags across. Moving on to the frame bag. So again, this is a bit of a homemade hodgepodge setup, but it's just done the job over and over again. Probably won't replace it until it actually breaks. It has come pretty close at one point where the cranks kind of collided with this base when it was too full, but I've patched it up now so it works perfectly fine. In here typically is bike spares, repair kit for tires and whatnot, or like punctured tires, and then my kitchen setup. I've got a neck buff that I used as a bit of a towel to wipe down my tent, and amongst other things. A small homemade Metho stove, lighter, pan. This is an old Trangia set that I've used for over 10 years now. Fuel, I put in this little bottle. That's all the Metho I need. This was filled about 3/4 full for 5 days worth, and that lasted me the whole trip. What else have I got? 5 days worth of coffees were had in here. I've got some coffee left. I just used the disposable paper cup that I got from the cafe. Upcycled that 5 times. This has been great, super light, and then at the end of the day I can throw that out and be happy that it got the most life that it could possibly get. And it's lighter than a plastic kind of takeaway cup or camping cup that you can typically get at camping stores, so pretty happy with that. Again, coffee setup, just kind of got V60 papers in this kind of collapsible V60 setup. It comes apart pretty easily. Honestly, it does the job. Everything tastes better when you're camping, and when it comes to coffee, even a shit V60 pour over tastes better than 0 V60 pour over. I really enjoyed it. In fact, the coffees were quite delicious this trip. So bring some toilet paper with me, just enough to keep me going a couple of days. I refill that whenever I hit civilization, pop it up from a public toilet or whatnot. What's not in here because I ran out were also some baby wipes. So I gave myself 2 baby wipes per day to kind of clean off and put on some dry clothes. That worked out pretty well. I think in the future I might give myself a bit more grace and pack some more baby wipes, because 2 wasn't just enough. But say I had to clean up a wound or something, it would have been nice to have a few spares with me. Also have my toiletries. This actually typically lives inside that front bag that I had, but because it was the last day I moved it into here. Toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, sunscreen, and body glide or anti-chafe. Honestly, that's all I carried. Did the job. Maybe could have, saved a few grams here and there by cutting the toothbrush in half, but honestly, neither here or there as to the weight difference. Ibuprofen, and that was pretty handy for me this trip. Coming into it with very poor fitness, I was really sore, especially with the saddle, and that just helped kind of take the edge off a little bit. All right, moving on. I've got my handy dandy pump kit. I think this is a Toe Peak floor pump. This was like all the rage maybe 10 years ago. It was one of the first pumps to have a detachable hose. It means you can reach full pressures pretty easily in a portable pump. I'm sure there are lighter options that exist these days, but honestly, this thing has not failed me for over 10 years, and I'll continue to use it until it dies, and then I'll think about getting a new one. But I love this thing because it can pump up my tires to full pressure with minimal effort, and that's what I want in a pump. Not something that's super lightweight and takes hours to pump up. Although maybe the technology's changed, but the thing has just fundamentally worked for me. Spares. So this is a punctured tube that I got along the way. I just kind of threw it in the bag. Bike tie levers. And on the got 2 regular spare tubes and a patch kit. And then I had 2 spare TPU tubes. So one of them obviously I replaced. I think moving forward, I'll move on to these. These are so light, pretty really reliable, had no issues apart from a pinch flat, which was 100% my fault and not the tube's fault for not running adequate pressures. So light. I mean, like, compare the two. Yeah, I love these. These are great. And rotational mash is probably where you want to save the most of weight. So if you can use a lighter tube, then by all means, let's do it. A couple of zip ties. Didn't have to use those, thankfully. And then a patch kit for the TPU tubes. That's everything in the frame bag, the zip tie. I think, yeah, cool. Okay, now moving on to the rear of the bike. I've got this Blackburn, saddle bag. This is pretty much like my camping sleep setup beyond my tent, amongst other things. I've got this Patagonia shirt in there. This was what I rode with every single day except for the last day. I treated myself to my nighttime clothes on my last day because by day 5, this was getting pretty manky, as you can probably tell. But it's lightweight, it dries really quick, protects me from the sun, can roll up the sleeves if you need it. It's got vents on the back. I really like it. My only downside is that it does tend to stink up quickly. I don't know if quickly, maybe quickly is a bit too harsh, but it does tend to stink up. It's not like a merino or anything, but would bring again and recommend that for riding. This is my one luxury item, sleeping eye mask. Again, doesn't weigh much. It is a luxury item, but helps me sleep. And when you're camping and you're riding all day, I want to do everything in my favor to prioritize sleep. If it means putting on an eye mask to help me do that, by all means, this has helped me. It's almost like it almost triggers my sleep. I wear this every single night. As an alternative, I could use my neck buff as an eye mask, but it just has a different comfort level to me. Moving on, I've got my sleeping bag. This is a Go Light quilt. I'm not sure if they even exist anymore. It's a quilt setup, meaning that it doesn't really have a back. The theory being that, when you sleep on your back or when you sleep in a bag, you compress all it down on the back anyway. So yeah, this bag has served me well for over 10 years. Really light, packs down small, and good to about 0 degrees. Beyond that, I pack a warm liner, and then beyond that, I decide not to go because it's too cold for me. After that, I've got a silk liner. Again, I've had this forever. I did make a DIY modification to it. I don't know if you noticed it. I hate being constrained by the sleeping bag liner, so I sewed 2 legs into it. One other thing that you'll notice is that it's ripped, so I actually need to fix that. But yeah, it's a silk liner, does the job, packs really small. Next item on the list, I've got a Nemo sleeping pillow. Look, again, I think this is another luxury item in terms of what I'm packing, but when you're riding big miles, you want to prioritize sleep and nutrition as much as you can. And if bringing a bigger pillow helps you sleep, then bring the bigger pillow. So this was great. I do have a slightly smaller version of that. I think that would also be just as good. Anyway, it's a bit of a luxury item and I fully acknowledge that. In terms of my sleeping pad, I've got a Nemo full length regular mummy tensor. It's insulated, again, does the job. Maybe semi-luxury, I don't know these days, but packs small. I love the stuff sack that you use to pump it up. You kind of blow into it, and then you pump all the air out, and it just saves you so much time when it comes to inflating your mattress. Would recommend. Don't think I'll be changing that setup anytime soon. And then last but not least, I also have a pair of shorts that just nice to wear around the campground. Also, I'm only wearing bib shorts most of the time. If I'm in public or go to a pub, I can chuck these on and feel less self-conscious, but honestly, I really don't care. But it's just nice to have an extra pair of bottoms with me whilst I'm at camp. Nice to have a clean pair of shorts on me. Okay, Move that all aside. Next, I'll move on to what I'm wearing. So I covered the shirt already. I've got this fractal running hat, which I wear under my helmet. This is great when it's sunny, fits under the helmet nicely, and it's also great in the rain, stops like water from, I guess, spraying into your eyes. I don't wear it all the time, but occasionally I'll put it on. Handy to have. Bib shorts, just classic kind of cheap DHB bib shorts, do the job. I only brought one pair. They served me really well. Nothing more to say about that. Just gone over. This is probably one of my favorite items of the kit. I've got an icebreaker merino top. I'll only put this on when I'm at camp, so it stays relatively clean. It's so nice to wear like a fresh pair of clothes after a long day of riding. You don't feel sticky. So this typically comes on after I've used my 2 allocated baby wipes, i.e. my shower. Great item. And then I put it on to cycle in the last day, so I didn't have to wear my manky top, just as a bit of a luxury. That was great. In terms of socks, I've got these merino socks, Zeft. I've got 2 pairs of these. I don't know where the other pair are. Hopefully they'll pop up, but maybe not. Oh, I know where the other pair are. Because they were soaked from the previous day's riding, I put them in there. Yeah, so 2 pair of these merino Zeft socks. I think it's an Australian company. They serve me well. They don't smell. Merino's great because it just doesn't hold a smell. But even still, after 5 days of riding, they get super manky. I wore these on the last day. These are my camp only socks. And again, even though I only brought 2 pairs, it felt so nice putting on a fresh pair at the end of every day that weren't super dirty and manky. And then I've got this Patagonia, I think it's a nano jacket, synthetic down. One of my favorite kind of jackets that I own. Packs up pretty small, synthetic, so it can get wet. I can chuck it in the wash and not have to worry about the care instructions. A fantastic piece of kit. And then in terms of what I was wearing, a bit different this trip. I knew that there would be a lot of elevation gain and a lot of pushing the bike, so I actually opted out from wearing clipless pedals, and instead I went with my trail runners. So I've got Ultra Lone Peaks. Ended up being awesome, just riding flat pedals with some hiking shoes. Yeah, so you lose a little bit of efficiency, but what you gain is a lot of comfort, especially when walking, and like my feet did not complain at all this whole trip, which was amazing. I love that. And then finally, I wore this Salomon running vest pretty much the whole trip, and this is like honestly MVP of the trip for me. On the front, I had 2 half-liter collapsible flasks. Fill those up with water or a carb mix, and either I'll drink it directly whilst I'm riding, or I'll transfer water from here into that bottle that I had in my like primary hydration bottle. I had 2 of those, the other one's in here, super handy. And then I also had my PLB. I just got a Garmin InReach Mini. This one actually came in handy this trip because I was out of reception for a bit, and I kind of did have to send some messages whilst I was in the middle of nowhere. A bit annoying that it is a subscription service. Hopefully that just means I need to get out more and use it more. But these days, you know, I just tell people no news is good news. And I do know that some of the iPhones, the newer iPhones, have that SOS functionality if you need it. So that might get phased out over time as my phone upgrades, but for now it's doing the job. Inside the vest, as you can tell, like it can carry quite a bit. This thing expands a heap, and one thing that was underutilized in previous trips was the amount of space this held. So if it lets me open, inside I've got my rain jacket, pretty standard, like bog standard Patagonia rain jacket, does the job, no further comment. I also have this skillet or vest. Again, this thing is awesome, pretty light, windbreaker, paired with my shirt, like pretty good in most conditions, and just another layer of warmth if I need it. Yeah, really handy to have, easy to come on and off. I think the brand is POC for this one. I don't know what model, but yeah, handy bit of kit. This normally lives in my camping setup, a pair of thermals, leg thermals. The reason why this was in the bag was because it was a cold morning when I started, and so I rode with it on the first couple of Ks whilst I was warming up, and then I just chucked it in the bag once I got too hot. Rubbish. I've got this platypus water flask, 1 liter. And so the intention of this is only dirty water goes in here. So anytime I reach a rainwater tank, I'll fill this up and then I'll use the platypus water filter to filter it. And this as a combo was great. As a contingency, I could carry an extra liter of water when I needed to and filter it when I get to camp. So yeah, pretty handy, and I use this every day. This is great. I don't really know too much about other watering filter setups, maybe something I can look into, but I won't do that until this dies. And honestly, these two did the job. The only downside is that it's pretty slow to filter water, and I'm not sure if that's normal or not. So I might look into like back flushing this thing. Maybe it's a bit clogged or whatnot, but yeah, seriously, like I drank some water, well, filtered some really brown water and didn't really notice it. So that was great. More rubbish. That's it. That's everything that's in here. I've just got like these side pockets as well. More rubbish. That was that bag. The only thing that I haven't covered is the extra water bottle that I have on the bottom of my bike. That carries another 750 mils. As you can tell, it's covered in gunk. I just use it as a vessel to carry water, and then I'll just pour water from that into my other bottle. And then beyond that, I've got 2 rear red lights, one here and another on the back of my saddlebag, just for when you're on the busy highway sections. Nice to have that extra, I guess, visibility. Yeah. Next, so that pretty much covers everything I carried on my trip. I was pretty happy with everything I carried. It was pretty minimal. There are a few bits and pieces that I might change, but fundamentally the setup's not going to change a heap. I think if anything, I might change stuff on the bike. So I was running 38C gravel tires, which did the job mostly. But in the future, I'd like to try and squeeze something in fatter. And if that means going down to a 650B, I think I'd be keen to make that investment just to have some bigger tires and a bit more comfort. The other adjustment I'd make would be a smaller front chainring, just so I can get some lower gear ratios. I was on my lowest gear a lot this trip, and I was always wishing I had more. Yeah, so that's my setup for my 5-day bikepacking trip. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. If you enjoy this kind of content, I'm hoping to release a few videos from the bikepacking trip itself. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.